nice. I like the shoulder work.
Couch. Let's go.
What?
I like couch.
Oh, the couch. Okay.
That's the name of this episode. I like couch.
You like couch? You guys will have to redo the
Yeah,
bit.
you have to redo it
No, you
then.
have to redo it and it won't be
No
organic.
context. Just name the episode I like couch. Don't mention the couch whatsoever.
Well, we've just mentioned a couch now by saying not to mention the couch, though.
But we haven't started recording technically.
Yes,
Well,
we
what
have.
if I start it now? I'm crazy. I could start it right now.
Look, the recording's already been going for 5
Boom!
minutes.
It
Yeah,
could have
but
already
The
started.
traditional intro hasn't happened
Yeah,
yet.
but I've
That's
been.
what happened in my episode. If you were listening, bruh.
You listen to our podcast.
Yeah, that's where we talked about nailed it.
Very busy.
Yeah.
Very
My ears are just too busy
Very
to
busy.
listen to something.
listening to other podcasts, aren't you?
I
Yeah.
like rotate 5 podcasts, guys.
Oh
It's
my
Oh, well,
really
why
Well, just
couldn't you
add
do
another
6?
one. Yeah. What's a 6 then?
Yeah. Chuck it in the
doesn't
shuffle,
match
mate.
up with my working week. Okay.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's you use.
All right.
Don't want to be friends.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyway, do the intro.
Excuse me, it's my podcast.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll do the intro. I want to do the intro. All right.
Audio listeners.
Hello.
Hope you enjoyed
Hello.
that, audio listeners. Yeah.
And welcome to Thermaltake, the official Thermaltake Australia podcast. Today's podcast, we'll be discussing our picks for the upcoming D.I.C.E Awards. We'll be taking another topic from the community and talking about some tragic game delays. As always, you're joined by me. I'm back, your host, Sarah. And today, we are also joined by...
Alex.
Taylor.
Hey!
How's it going?
It's the OG crew, sort
OG.
of.
Are we the
Yeah,
OG?
I guess.
First episode?
Like first official episode.
yeah.
First official episode.
Right.
Yeah,
I
so I
guess we-
feel
Second
like
episode.
it is.
Yeah.
But then again, the first episode was only like
Yes.
20 minutes, I think. So I
Yeah.
don't know if I count it.
Yeah,
It's
no,
kinda
let's
like
just
a-
not count it.
It's like a preface.
You know
Yeah,
what? We
like
should
it-
take it back and then rename every other episode.
So it's in the right order.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So get rid of episode 1 and then make episode 2, episode 1, episode 3, episode 2.
Well, it's episode 0 technically.
yeah, episode 0.
Yeah.
Because it's like the
Oh, is
pilot
it?
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then no worries.
Yeah. Do you listen to the podcast, Alex?
I listen to it. I
think-
don't pay attention to the name.
I work really hard on the
I think
names,
we
man.
discovered
Yeah,
you're
I
a
know,
phony.
but like I'm a part of naming it as well. Like sometimes, like helping.
I suppose. But then aren't you happy to see your name in lights? Like, I named that. That was me.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, but I don't pay attention to the number.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. The podcasts are more than you than just the number.
yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's beautiful,
Yeah,
man.
that's
It's about the
Dedication.
quality, not the number.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah,
Very true.
I tend to agree.
that's words to live by.
That is. Put that on a shirt.
And put that on a shirt.
Into the Alex
That's
collection.
my third
You've got a lot of
shirt.
shirts, man.
No, I should start making
You're up
shirts.
your game. You haven't got any
Yeah.
shirts. What
Where
shirts
are your
would you
shirts?
have?
I own shirts.
No, it's not about your wardrobe.
I'm wearing right now.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna have a drink now.
This has something stronger than water.
That's
God,
fantastic.
that's a lovely sound.
Lovely. That backfired spectacular.
that was deliberate.
Yeah, that was part of the...
Don't mind me.
Do you need a moment?
I think so. Let's just get it out of the way.
Welcome to Cough Cast.
We're good. We're good. I'm
Yeah?
just gonna cry.
Okay. I'm related.
Do you know when you
I'm
do that?
related-
Yeah. I was thinking about
Just
something.
feeling really
the
emotional.
other day. No, do you ever get that when you drink water and like cough and then it's just like your eyes?
I had
starts
it
to
at
tear up a
lunch.
bit?
Yeah.
When I ate something that was like a lot spicier than I expected, and then I was just coughing like a madman, and then
Yeah.
I actually got a rash because I coughed so hard.
Whoa.
I've had my eyes tear up when I've like stretched too hard. Like actually.
What were you stretching?
No, like what was I stretching? No, like I was just like
Oh,
stretching.
like this?
Yeah, I was like doing
Oh, you
that.
mean like yawning? Like
Yeah,
like
you
one of those big
yawning
ones.
and
Yeah.
stretching.
oh, right.
Yeah, like one of those big ones. Like you kind of like just
big
like
one.
you have like a small aneurysm, and you just like
just a small aneurysm.
You just like start
Right.
tearing up, and it's like, oh shit, I'm gonna calm down.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can tell I
see,
don't exercise very quickly.
Stretching's a bit much for Taylor.
Yeah,
Oh.
That's a workout in
Oh.
itself. Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely cried while yawning before.
Yes.
Which is really awkward when you're watching like a sad movie or something and you're like, no, I swear I just yawned. I'm not emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah,
But
so that's what happened to me just then.
That's happened to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
the episode.
you coughed into crying.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Well, you know.
Cheer up.
I'm good.
Fantastic. What are we talking about today, Sarah?
Well, that's a great question, Taylor.
We're talking about crying,
I
obviously.
was having way too much fun with the coughing and crying.
It's really getting to me.
Yeah, it's just such an emotional podcast.
Yeah.
It is. Wow,
That's
man.
good.
So today, first topic we're going to talk a little bit about is the upcoming D.I.C.E Awards, which are coming up in February. Do you know the date exactly? It's like early February. It's like the 12th or something like
I know
that.
it's in Feb. I'm not sure when exactly.
Yes. I'll probably get the date up in a second once things load because internet.
Do we know what D.I.C.E stands for?
I do.
Just looked it up.
Design, innovate, communicate, entertain.
I wanted Alex to guess, but okay, that's fine.
What else could it stand for, Alex?
What did Sarah just say? Did you listen?
No.
Okay, what does D.I.C stand for?
D.I.C.E.
Die in
You're nearly there.
crazy entertainment.
Yeah, you got it.
Yep.
Dying Crazy Entertainment.
Well done.
Nice.
4 out of 4. Did fantastic. 4 out of 4.
Hero, 4 out of 4.
Thanks, man.
They've been running a lot longer than I thought they were. This is their 23rd year. I think.
Right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
seems insane.
I swear, I don't know. They've been around for almost as long as I've been around.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. So, like, do they
No
have
one
any,
played games back then. What is this?
they have any relation to D.I.C.E as a developer?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
it's just a coincidence.
I
Because
always
when,
thought-
when I
that's what I thought it was.
Right,
I
me
was like, what the
too.
heck?
I was
So
like,
what
why
is-
are they nominating all these other people if
Is-
it's just the D.I.C.E Awards?
Is D.I.C.E the developer just D.I.C.E then? Doesn't stand for anything?
I don't think so. I think they're just dice.
It's like die and dice.
Like the dice that you throw.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm just
Yeah.
like, is it just a cool acronym they came up with, or was it like actually just called D.I.C.E as the developer?
Oh,
not the
there's a
awards?
developer.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't they do like
No,
battle?
that stands for die in crazy.
Yeah, that one's
Entertainment.
that one's that
yeah.
one.
That's
Sorry,
what
you
you
were
call
thinking
it.
of the other one.
I was
Oh
thinking of the other
god,
one.
the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
dice. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, now we're on the same page.
I think D.I.C.E has only done Battlefield games.
I think so. That's
And
the
it's
only thing I
Battlefront.
know of.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Battlefront recently, but that's about it.
Yes, we won't talk about that. When are they? I just saw when they were happening. Yeah, announced on February 13. I was pretty close. I said 12. But yeah.
The one thing I didn't realize about D.I.C.E, I never actually looked up how they decide who gets voted, like in terms of the nominees. But it's actually peer voted, and like not
Yeah.
even. It's through industry professionals, but it's like from all over the board. So you have everyone from like Troy Baker, who's a prominent voice actor, to like high-ranking dev directors from Naughty Dog, Insomniac, D.I.C.E. You know, which I think is really cool.
It is.
I'm just happy because so my game of last year, my pick for game of 2019, which was always like just shot down by every awards show, was Untitled Goose Game. And luckily the D.I.C.E Awards have got them in for Game of the Year, so I'm really happy.
Nice.
That's the main thing
It was
I was
a
happy
very
about.
popular game.
I loved that game.
I was surprised.
Yeah,
I
I think
just
from a
thought it
dev
was
side
great.
it would have been popular. Yeah, because the design of that game is just really simple but really effective.
It just
and cute.
exploded as well, like it just like out of nowhere. It just was everywhere. Like I don't even remember who I saw play it first.
Yeah.
I just saw everyone was playing it. It was crazy how that happens.
I've been following it for quite a while because it got popular. Well, not as popular as it did, but it got to a point of popularity online through Twitter. Like they would post gifs of the goose and its hijinks, and it get like 25,000 retweets and
Wow.
likes and stuff like that. Because people just thought it was cute. And like when it was being worked on, the running name was Untitled Goose Game because they didn't have a name for it, and they just
And they just kept it.
They just
Just kept it.
Yeah, that's great. I love it so much. So for the Game of the Year category, we've got Control, Death Stranding, Disco Elysium, Outer Wilds, and Untitled Goose Game. Do you guys have any picks in particular that you'll kind of would put your money on? I mean, as much as I love Untitled Goose Game, I don't think it's going to win.
I think I played 2 of those 5. Was it 5?
Yes.
Yeah, I
can count.
played bits of those 2. So Outer Wilds and wait, no, hang on. This is the confusing thing. Is it Outer Worlds or Outer Wilds?
Outer Wilds.
Okay, no, I played one of them. Death Stranding.
Okay.
Good clarification.
yeah, that's the thing though.
Yeah,
Like,
Outer Wilds and Outer Worlds, and they came out like a month apart, which just did not
I'm
help.
surprised that big ol' Obsidian didn't go after little indie devs and be like, hey, can you change it?
Yeah. I think technically Outer Worlds is the Outer Worlds as well. I don't
Yeah, there's
think.
a the.
Yeah, whereas this one's just Outer Wilds.
Yeah. I guess
yeah, I get that.
you can kind of maybe argue that the confusion has led to more, I guess, coverage to the independent game because no one really knows about it.
Yeah, that's a good
That's
point,
true.
actually. I do wonder if there's any way to track like whether the name added anything or not at all.
Just like any podcast, including ours, like just then, when they talk about either game, it's like the question always is, are you talking about this one or the other one? And it's like,
right.
The other one.
Yeah, but it's kind of like free marketing for the other one, I guess, that might not have got any as much noticed. So,
I did buy Control with the full intention of playing it because I just heard nothing but good things, and I bought it on PC too for ray tracing specifically because I hear that is also amazing.
Yeah.
And I've heard like it's kind of like the underdog. Like not many people have played it, but those who had say it's game of the year material. So I wouldn't be surprised if that one.
Yeah, fair. It's interesting though because Sekiro won the Game Awards as Game of the Year, and that's not in their running at all. I think Control won IGN's Game of the Year.
Yeah.
So, but then again, Disco Elysium cleared up at the Game Awards as well. So, I mean, I feel like that they're in for a pretty good chance as well.
Yeah.
How about you, Alex? What are your consensus on these 5 games?
I like games.
You like video games?
I play games.
Yes.
Didn't play these games. I didn't play any of those games.
Play games exclusively from
I'm going to
1998.
go with Taylor
Yeah.
here and back Control.
Are you back in Control?
Yeah, I'm back. in
Yeah,
Control.
you're back in Control.
I feel like because when I looked up the voting, because that was what I was curious about, was like who are the people that decide the nominees? Because I feel like that would influence who would be more likely to win. And because it's from a developer side, I feel like the ones that kind of challenge design principles. So like Death Stranding, I think might have a fair shake. I feel like it was a bit, what do you call it? Divisive.
Yes.
So I feel like that will
be a
hurt it
problem.
in this regard. So realistically, I think either Control or Disco Elysium could be one of the two that could win.
Yeah. I guess like
Second that.
you second that?
Yeah.
You completely agree
Yeah.
in all accounts?
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. Real good?
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, this Disco Elysium is another one because like I was so close to actually pulling the trigger on it, but I'm still trying to wait and see whether or not it's the game for me because it is such a heavy text-based tactical RPG. And
true.
like I've tried games like that, like Divinity,
Right.
and I couldn't really get hooked to it. So
Yeah.
again, it's purely just text-based and like no combat whatsoever, or very limited combat from what I've
Yeah.
heard. I'm not sure if it'd be my speed.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same because it definitely, like, the story part of it to me sounds really interesting. Like, as someone who loves, like, games with really cool narratives and
Yeah.
really cool characters. But yeah, it's the gameplay side of it that makes me also go,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think like just the art design alone was like cool. Like, that's the one thing that got me in more than anything.
Yeah.
But hearing the story was really compelling was also another thing. It's just more so the actual interfacing with the game, like what you spend your time doing, is like might be a bit tedious. I don't know.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. You might actually, to be frank, I think Disco Elysium might be something that you might enjoy because it is largely text-based, a la early Diablo, that kind of stuff that you've kind of been used to playing for a while.
You reckon?
Yeah. Like, I think it's not so much like the looter, click 1,000 times kind of game, but in terms of like story, if that's kind of what you're interested in when you initially played Diablo, that might still be up your alley.
I can't really talk about what I was interested in Diablo. I can't really remember what got me into it. Mostly the fact that I just really enjoyed it.
It's a pretty good way to get into something, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, makes sense.
In the scheme of things.
It wasn't just like one thing. It was like
You enjoy something because you enjoy it.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, so I enjoyed playing it. I saw I played it more.
Yeah.
But maybe, I don't know. I haven't actually really seen anything about it.
Yeah, like
I
it's
haven't
kind
even
of
seen the
besides.
trailer.
I feel like the awards was the only thing that really got that game out there in terms of like
Yeah,
the conversation. Because like
definitely.
before that, it was here and there. Like I saw people tweeting on Twitter like, "Play this game, it's amazing," and I was like, "Oh yeah, tactical RPG, text based, got it. Yeah, like maybe not for me." And then it started winning awards. It's like, "Oh, hang on."
Yeah. I feel
What's
like
going on?
I definitely feel like that was the case. I'd barely ever heard of Disco Elysium until the Game Awards. and I was
Still don't
like,
know who made it. Like the actual developers that made it.
I think
Yeah.
their name I always get confused with.
I think
can't
it's the
remember what it is.
European devs.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
that much.
Yeah. I always find like Game of the Year as a like category. I don't know if I've said this before. We're going to start getting that now, I think, at this point. Now that we've reached like 7 podcasts, I think we're going to reach a point where I start repeating stories. So I've said this before.
Yeah.
Stop me. But we're all going to reach that point eventually.
Are we?
I think so.
Wait and see.
Well, my strat is to have each of you guys on an even amount of times. So that's why I tactically pick who's on.
Right.
It's a
Is that why you
tactical
do
pick.
it?
Yeah.
Ah,
It's a tactical.
okay.
Yeah. That's it. Anyway, I feel like Game of the Year, I always find such a weird category because like what defines
Yeah.
a Game of the Year?
It's
Like
your
is it
own opinion.
about is it about like is it the best, but then what's the point of having all the other categories like outstanding achievement in game design? Like what is the difference between a game that's designed really outstandingly
Yeah.
and Game of the Year? Like or is Game of the Year more of a game that encompasses that year?
Yeah.
Like that's why I always find it a weird category and I don't really like it as
I
a
think
category.
it's like the same discussions people have with the Game Awards, specifically like the ones that Jeff Keighley hosts, is that what's the difference between Game of the Year and Best Game Direction or Best Game Director?
Exactly.
Because like, how does that work?
Yeah, and like how can you win like best game director,
And
but then
then-
that not be Game of the Year? Like you had a shit director, but a great game. Like surely the
Yeah.
director makes the game.
Yeah,
it's a part that
exactly.
makes the game great. Like
Yeah.
it's like when you they say like best actor or best actress usually also wins the best movie and stuff like that. Like there's a correlation between a certain category, I don't know which one it is, and then like the Golden Globe or the Oscar. They tend to be the same.
Yeah, to me that makes more sense because the movie does rely heavily on like its main lead. Like
Yeah,
if the main
true.
lead is terrible,
Yeah.
most likely it won't win Best Picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if the cinematography is great, the music's great, all the supporting cast is great. If the main character's garbage, the movie suffers as a whole. Therefore, it won't get Best Picture.
Yeah.
So I feel that's why it's like most likely when you see Best Actor wins, then most likely the film also wins. Yeah.
But then I feel like if you have outstanding achievement in something, or if you have something amazing in this category, it seems weird that then that doesn't kind of give you that Game of the Year. I don't know. That's what I mean. I feel like Game of the Year needs to be defined better.
That's the
basically.
main confusion. Is like if a game does get Best Game Direction, and if it gets on top of that Best, like if it's of its genre, like Best RPG, and then it doesn't get Game of
Yeah,
the
it's
Year, it's
like-
like okay, well
yeah.
it got two of those seem fairly important. Like it's representative of what the game experience is. Yet it didn't get Game of the Year. And
It's like how Sekiro didn't really get anything else that night. I'm not sure. Might have got one other award.
Yeah.
And then like I don't know where it kind of got Game of the Year. I mean, it looks like an amazing game. It plays amazingly. It's the guys who do Dark Souls, so it's going to be a really great gameplay and it's going to look really awesome. But like I felt like Death Stranding and Control were like cleaning up all night. Even Disco Elysium was cleaning up quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then just had Sekiro win. I was like, oh.
Yeah, there was a bit of what do you call it? I guess controversy in the nomination for Death Stranding because of Jeff Keighley's ties to Kojima. But even so, like the whole thing was like cleared up. Or it's been this way ever since the Game Awards started, in that how the votes are conducted and how the votes are cast. Like he has no control over that whatsoever. Like the nominees that get submitted are by a peer-reviewed board that he is not on. So like he has no control of what gets
Yeah.
nominated. And then in terms of how it's voted on, he again
Doesn't
not
have that.
as any connection to the vote either. It's just purely that he hosts the show, really. So I don't know why that was brought up anyway. But even so, even though Death Stranding didn't win, it won like one award for something.
Yeah, it won
People
like
were still saying that it was rigged against
he was
it.
like best director. I think they won for the music.
Yeah, I
as
think it was
well, which I
music
thought
as
was
well.
weird because the music is like a bunch of other artists. But okay.
Still, I think that's the kind of unique thing about Kojima's games, more so for actually no, yeah, like the last basically all of Metal Gear Solid, but I think for me the highlights were Metal Gear Solid 4 and 5. They've had like really well-known music artists feature on his games that are like really, really popular songs. Like you can listen to David Bowie in Metal Gear Solid 5 as you land in a helicopter and like strike down a base. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. Give it that.
Yeah, so that's like kind of when a game comes out like that, I think that makes good sense. But then again, that's the other thing. Like, is that a good soundtrack or good music, like orchestral? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a different thing.
Yeah, it's like
entirely.
the original how like movies were released sometimes like a soundtrack full of songs that they got from
Yeah.
artists to record for the movie, and then they'll release the actual like
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer orchestral style
Yeah.
score. And it's like, are they in the same category? Because I feel like you can't really compare
Yeah.
those two things.
Exactly.
In my,
Yeah.
but anywho, yes. Cool. We'll move on to our second topic of the day, which is the community topic. Once again, if you are listening to the podcast, please jump on our Discord if you haven't already, and jump into our podcast chat every week, usually the week between the podcasts coming out. I'll put in a request for like people to submit things that they want to suggest for us to talk about, and I'll pick something from there to talk about the next podcast. So please, if you haven't already, jump on. I'd love to see your suggestions, whatever they may be. You can suggest as much as you want as well, and you can repeat suggestions if I don't use it. But this week's suggestion, I know there was like a full name, but I just went down to Vice, I'm assuming it is, because it was like V1CE, so... I'm pretty hip with the kids, so I'm pretty sure that's Vice.
That was a hard translation, but you got there.
Sorry?
That was a hard translation, but you
yeah,
got there.
I worked really hard. You could have done the E as a 3, though. Disappointing.
Had to dock 3 points for that.
Yeah, we lost a few cool points for that one. But it was basically just recap of CES 2020. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk a little about CES 2020. Did you guys follow much of CES 2020?
I forgot it was happening, as I always do every year.
It falls during like a weird time because not everyone's quite back to work and back to doing things, and you're like,
it's January 10th or something like that. Yeah, it's like immediately after we got back from the holidays. I was like, oh yeah, it's now. But yeah, I saw a couple of things, not the whole show obviously, but one of the main things I saw was LG announced their new OLEDs for the year. And
you love your TVs.
I do, man.
There was a lot of screen.
I love my TVs too.
There was a lot of screen stuff I saw.
There was a
actually.
lot of screen.
But it was also like the focus this year was on gaming, and like, especially from like TV manufacturers, not necessarily like monitor companies. And the thing with LG was that their OLEDs that are really popular, their last year's model in 2019, the 9 series, they through a firmware update added G-Sync support, which was like a first for any TV manufacturer to do. And with their new television they're releasing this year, they've now added it for G-Sync to be done over HDMI 2.1, so you can actually technically hook up a PC to the LG screen. OLED and play at 4K 120 hertz, which is still infeasible with today's hardware. But
you still have to get there, push those frames.
Yeah. But you can do 4K 60 as well, so that's a more reasonable.
Well, it's G-Sync, you can.
Yeah, so I think it can go down to. I think G-Sync works to like 40 FPS or something on the TVs, because like I know on computer monitors the threshold's lower in terms of where G-Sync becomes effective because it has a certain threshold of frames.
Yeah.
But I think the TVs are higher. I think it's 40 FPS it has to hit, and then it'll actually G-Sync will then kick in. But no, it just seems like what they're doing in terms of that side of things, they're actually making their kind of argument as a primary monitor. They even released a smaller TV size. They went to a 48-inch TV purely for that reason. So when they were demoing the G-Sync functionality, they had the 48 models on display, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I did see
the
screen stuff.
The transparent screen?
No.
Transparent screen?
Yes. There's transparent screens, which I think is crazy. I actually think they're putting them in fridges for some reason.
Right. Interesting.
So you can see if you have enough milk.
Yeah,
you can just check through.
Yeah, but I don't know what the screen shows.
Right.
Don't have enough money to afford one of them, so. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's interesting.
That is interesting.
I don't know why, like what sort of purposes it has.
You don't know why this exists.
You could say that a lot about CES.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah. But why does it exist? We did it.
It just does, you know.
Cost $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is cool to see how thin they're getting with some of their monitors. Like LG's got the wallpaper monitors, which is really cool. They're like, just thin.
Oh my God.
But I saw a lot of sustainability stuff. So I saw a small company, Hydraloop, but basically what it is a water purifying system for your home.
Okay.
And basically takes the water from your waste, so baths, showers, washing machines, purifies it, and then puts it back to your toilets.
Right.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, fair.
I think they were even trying to get to the stage where you could drink it again, but I don't know if you would want to be able to do that. It'd be a bit weird if you knew that you...
No matter how many times you filter that water, I don't think it's
You still feel weird about it.
Exactly. But yeah, I love that idea that they're pushing more sustainability
definitely.
stuff. And I actually have like a bit of a, I guess you'd call it a quarry with companies that they don't provide enough sustainability products. And I feel like a lot of companies just push more things that they think are going to sell rather than things that are more sustainable for the environment. And that's sort of been coming up a lot, so I don't want to talk about that too much, about like climate change and stuff. But people like Elon Musk that are pushing more of a sustainable future, I really like. And I feel like there should be more and more of that at CES, because some of the products that they come out with are really cool, but like how sustainable is it for our future?
Exactly.
There's no like long-term initiative in terms of how it could be feasibly manufactured at a sustainable rate.
Yeah. So like they've got lots of robots, like lots of cooking robots and cleaning robots and stuff, which is cool. It's awesome. But yeah, I would like to see that be more sustainable for our future. The other cool thing I really liked is the autonomous car, which I think is amazing.
I think I might have seen that as well. I saw a clip of a guy in the car and they were driving around. Yeah, that was cool.
I feel like the autonomous
really
car,
cool.
though, is something I've seen at CES for like the past 8 years.
They've been working on those kinds of things for years.
Yeah.
Like, but this one looked pretty decent.
It looked really decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could finally see kind of how it worked, like how, because there was one point I remember in the video they were approaching this thing and like a pedestrian started walking across and I was like, oh my God, how's it like gonna know? But like it has a little sensor thing and it can just sense when people walk past. I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I was really impressed.
So they changed the way it detects danger, though?
What do you mean?
Yeah, what was
it doing before?
As in, like,
ejecting you?
Danger.
Because I remember reading something, like, don't quote me on this at all. I don't know if I
Quick, write this down.
can't say
Quote,
exactly where it was, but I think I remember that, like...
Good thing we're not recording this, Taylor. We'll never quote you on it again.
This is purely recoiling from memory, but they were saying that with autonomous vehicles, that the parameters for when a vehicle is about to hit a pedestrian, that its primary objective, I guess you could say, is the safety of the passengers and the driver.
Yeah, okay.
So, in theory, it will maximize the safety of those people over the pedestrian that it might potentially hit.
Yeah.
So, if the options are to swerve out of the way, that will then go into oncoming traffic, it makes the decision to not do that.
Yeah, and just hit the pedestrian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, like, not sure the specifics
I
on
think
that.
that's a constant. That'll be a
that's
constant
scary.
thing that they'll have to tweak, right?
But tweak how? It's like that situation.
Yeah, exactly. What
That
do you do?
situation still presents itself.
Well, there would have to be a way where the car would be able to calculate that they could swerve into oncoming traffic safely and then go around.
Yeah, because I feel like not even that, but in the event that because there was a whole thing when autonomous cars were first introduced that they had like every news outlet was like, first person killed from autonomous car. Like everyone wanted to get first dibs on that article. Yeah. And you'd always read and be like, okay, this was purely human error. But in the event that there is an actual cause casualty from an autonomous vehicle doing what it was programmed to do, how does that responsibility then, who does that then fall under? Like if it was Elon Musk, for example, using your example, if I had a Tesla that was autonomously driving and it killed someone, does Elon Musk then go to jail for murder? Or is it just the car?
It's like that ethics question with I think it's like a tram or a rail car.
Problem.
And
that's
how
the example they use.
Yeah, it's like, who do you save? I do feel like, though, if in theory every car is autonomous, then surely the car could communicate with its fellow cars and be like, yo, fellow cars, I got to swerve. And they're like, okie dokie, and then they do the swerve.
That's going to be a new, that's going to be a new like lingo. I got to swerve.
I got to swerve, boys.
Hey guys, I got to swerve. Peace.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that.
But then that's under the intention that it's widely adopted.
And that everyone has one. Yeah.
So it will eventually reach that stage, I believe, and then that will allow basically a safer driving experience for everyone, pedestrians or passengers,
Yeah.
because it will mean that everything on the road will be able to communicate with each other,
Yeah.
and allow for that to happen,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
But that is still quite a way away, which I
Yeah.
think is why they're sort of showing off what it can do now, but it hasn't been widely brought on.
Yeah.
And I think they'll still be developing it for 5, 10, 20 years. And I don't think it will ever be like perfect.
Yeah.
And until you can do it so that everyone has an automated car,
Yeah.
then it's not going to be 100%.
I feel like it'll do better. It'll be better served to test and to introduce it to society as in getting used to it, like the same way we adjusted to smartphones and how we adjusted to the internet. I think it'd be better tested to be like in the public sector. So having automated bus services, train services, taxis, that kind of thing. I feel like that is something that can be more thoroughly overlooked and controlled. And obviously they have predetermined routes already. So it kind of makes sense from that perspective too.
But wouldn't you have the same issues then?
I don't think obviously you'd have the same risks, but I think that there'd be more consistency in terms of like how people would like understand when they're on a highway, they see a bus, they clearly know that is a driverless bus because of the way it's the iconography about that bus. But if you're driving in a freeway in amongst the other vehicles, unless the car is clearly labeled or it's a brand that's clearly identified as a autonomous brand, then you have no way of knowing that the person driving that car is just an AI and not
Yeah.
a human.
I could see it working with trains,
Yeah.
where it's like they're on the tracks, they can't go anywhere except
Yeah.
on the tracks. And as long as they know the points of, okay, I need to slow down at a crossway here,
Yeah.
make sure that there's nothing in my path, and then keep going.
Yeah.
Because like trains still have accidents all the time.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many times cars get caught on train tracks. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible, but I'm not in that sector either. So I wish I could comment more.
Yeah.
I would like to see it though. It's interesting. I love the idea of it. And if it was like in the perfect world where it was working 100%, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone could argue that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I agree.
I didn't see anything else.
The only thing I was going to mention, it's not that big of a deal though, is that...
don't worry about mentioning it then.
Okay, cool. Moving on to the next one.
I want to hear, please.
No,
actually,
I was just
tell
going
me.
to say that Elgato brought out a new capture card that allows you to capture directly onto the card via an SD card instead of having to hook it up to your computer. And as someone who has struggled for hours with Elgatos trying to hook them up to my computer, that sounds amazing. Because I find them the most frustrating things to set up in the world. I wanted to initially get those ones that go in your computer, but for whatever reason I couldn't. I can't remember why, but I couldn't. So I had to get an external one, and I find them so annoying to set up. So I think this is great because then people can record straight from like their PlayStation or their Xbox or console of choice. They don't have to worry about hooking things up to record, which I thought was really great. I'm surprised it hasn't come out already, to be honest.
Well, see, I shared this in our group chat at work, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And then Alex, like as he does all the time, he's like, "Well, can't you just do that using the already hardware? The hardware already exists where you can do that."
Yeah.
I don't know why this is necessary. It's like, well,
It's
I feel like this solves some problems. Case in point, Sarah just had a problem.
Do you mean like, well,
you can
there's
hook it up to
already
your
you can hook it
computer.
up.
Yeah,
So
you hook it
why?
up to your
Yeah, I
computer.
get that.
Yeah.
But I think it's more for people who maybe just
Don't.
game a lot on their PlayStation or something, and
Yeah.
maybe they want to compose a sick MLG montage,
Yeah.
but they're not recording the whole time. They haven't got a computer hooked up the whole time. They can just chuck that in and have that going the whole time.
Also
It's easier.
extremely specific, but I would think this for media people at trade shows is going to be perfect because all they have to do is walk into a booth and say, "Hey, can I play a game?" and plug this in, and they can record.
And they can just
capture,
record straight onto
and then
there.
that's all they have to do. They have to walk away. That's it.
Yeah, true. So if you were like a YouTuber going to a...
Yeah, or even just like an ordinary outlet like IGN, Polygon, and they had to do coverage on a game. They could just be like, the developer themselves can be like, "Hey, we have this already saved on a SD card." They just hand them out to people, or they want to capture live gameplay, so they can just record it and then just pass it off as well. I think that's really useful in terms of like getting more coverage out there, especially for indie developers as well. Because I think you would find if you're doing a lot of trade show kind of touring, that if you just bought it at the initial start of that kind of marketing cycle, it would already pay itself off by the end, because you'd have that device to kind of easily share footage.
Yeah, I really like it. I think it's a really cool idea, and like I said, I'm really surprised they don't have it already. Like, it just seems like such a, I don't know, like SD cards are pretty old school now. I'm surprised it just wasn't a thing. Like,
we're using like 4 of them.
They got in popularity for the Nintendo Switch. That's why everyone needs SD cards.
I don't know. I just found it weird. But anyway, but no, that was probably my favorite thing, to be honest, that I'd saw, that I was like, oh, that stands out for me.
Did you guys see the big O?
Yeah, I saw that. The PC that encapsulates consoles as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's weird though.
It is weird.
It's like you have a choice between an Xbox One S, which is like an older, slower version of the current Xbox, or a PlayStation 4 Pro. And even so, the new consoles are coming out at the end of this year. So if you were to buy one now, it seems a bit
What I would want to see with that is that you can use your computer hardware to power the consoles.
You won't be able to.
Yeah, but that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
I'm just saying hypothetically.
Hypothetically, yes, but in reality,
Go
no.
with my thoughts here.
Oh my god, we're doing a what's the word? Improv exercise. I forgot the word improv.
I'm pretty sure it has like some sort of software DRM that not allows us from doing that.
Yeah, but
they are water cooled.
Aside from that,
yeah. There are actually improvements you can make though. They've water cooled it, and you can also use an SSD instead of a hard drive.
Well,
which does make fast load times.
Yeah, that's true.
I did it. It's great.
I saw that there was actually a haptic feedback chair. So basically, as you're playing the game, it will give you feedback as to what is happening in the game. So like, if you get shot in real... No.
A gun comes out from the back of the chair and just shoots you.
You die in the game, you die in real life.
No, but legit, you do.
Just a pair of hands come out of the headrest and they just snuck it out.
Just choke you to death. Done.
Like
wouldn't recommend
sort
playing
of feedback happening in the chair to try and replicate what's happening in
I've
the game.
always found
like
this to be gimmicks, to be honest.
I'm guessing so.
Well, it's haptic, so it's like it's rumble feedback. But yeah, I've always found it to be really gimmicky, because it's just like no matter how much you make it like minutia, like where the rumble's coming from, it's still like...
Yeah, but imagine that in VR.
Yeah, I can see that in VR making more sense, but even so, it's like... Yeah, I don't know.
Well, they have made... they've got gloves now that... that's the goal, is to mimic what you touch in VR and stuff like that. So, I mean, I guess if the technology is getting better, my main experience with technology like that is like, do you guys remember, I don't know, it depends if you went during the time, Movie World used to have...
During the time.
Movie World, I don't know if it still has it. Movie World here in Australia had a thing called Shrek 4D. Do you guys remember that?
I remember the theatre. I walked past it every time I went there because I was too scared to go in.
You just sit there and it's all those things where they spray your feet with water
they just
and
fart on you, right?
all that. Yeah, they put like a smell into the air when someone farts in it or something. And like that's what I always think of whenever I hear stuff like that, like I don't know, things giving you feedback. I just think of that and I'm like, yeah, look, that wasn't really great, if I'm honest. If anything, it took me out of it more.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, there's something on my feet. I've missed 5 minutes. Yeah. You know? It's like,
what the heck is on my feet?
Yeah. And then I miss
my clothes are wet.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm distracted and then I got to go back into the thing. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's meant to make you more immersed. For me, it just took me out.
Yeah. I feel like it detracts more than it adds.
Yeah. And that's how I always feel that kind of stuff. So I don't know. VR might be better at it because when you're in the headset, you do really not feel like you're where you are anymore. Yeah. So that might work because you're looking somewhere else and you can't look away in a VR really.
Yeah.
So maybe that's gonna be more for it is, but yeah.
There was also a cool watch that got released. Or I don't know if it got released, but it's basically it is a health and fitness watch, which is not uncommon nowadays. But this one actually monitors your sleep for sleep apnea.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it monitors your SO2 levels. I think so. It's the oxygen in your blood.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right.
I thought it was
What?
No, go on.
No, tell me what you're thinking.
I know what it was.
Oh, okay.
You all did go up on science.
I think that's
in
what
year
it is.
10.
But basically, the percentage that your blood is oxygen.
Right.
I think. Probably 100% wrong on that. But anyway.
Oxygenated.
Scientist
Yes.
Alex reporting for duty.
But it monitors while you're sleeping, and your oxygen levels can dip quite a number of percentage while you're sleeping because you're not breathing. You're breathing differently.
Oh no.
Yeah. I know.
You're not breathing.
Yeah, and you're not breathing.
Oh, that could be difficult.
Got any more than a wash.
That's a bit of a setback.
And then I thought that was pretty cool.
I think so too, because a lot of people when they go to get tested for sleep apnea, they have to go sleep in a lab and have all this stuff all over their face, and a lot of the times the results aren't great because they're not sleeping in their normal conditions.
Exactly. I know. I did that.
You've done
You
it?
did that?
I did.
How was it? I've heard it's
I
just
was 6.
awful.
Why?
My mum took me to the doctors for that very thing that you just described. They
Yeah.
put wires all over your head and sticky tape to hold it in place. And she told me that because I was like 6 or 7, and she
You're gonna
says,
have amazing
I
dreams.
was really quiet the whole time. And when the doctors finished putting the wires on my head and left the room, and it was just me and her, she said that like a single tear rolled down my face because I was that scared. Because I was just really, really upset.
Oh, poor little Taylor.
Why did she do it?
Just mentally
Why did I do it?
scarred.
But no, because I would fall asleep and not breathe. Like she said that she would walk into my bedroom and like she'd see me sleeping and just like going, and then just doing that.
Oh, that'd be scary.
Yeah, and like it became a problem. So she's like, "I have to take you to a sleep apnea place," and then they did those tests. And
Wow.
Would you recommend?
No,
definitely not.
I could be fine now, I guess, but not when I was like.
Yeah, of course.
When I was that age, they have no idea what's going on, and she's like, "Oh, I got you a Lego set to cheer you up." I'm like, "Not enough."
A lot more Lego than that, Cindy.
Made up a story about
Cindy.
I don't know. It's the first thing that came to mind.
That'd be weird.
Cindy the
if my mum
nurse.
was Cindy.
I would have made up a story about how they're gonna like give you amazing dreams and something, so you would actually enjoy it.
Yeah, I think I was too smart of a kid to know that was bullshit.
All right, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll make it more elaborate than that. Obviously.
Yeah, we're going to work on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just me spitballing.
See what sticks. You know?
I just imagine like you're if you were my mum in that situation and you're just talking like, "Hey, come on, man, I'll just give you ideas, okay? I'm just spitballing, okay? You gotta believe me, okay? Just quiet."
What do you mean you're too smart for this? This is what's happening.
Yeah, because I don't know what I thought it was, but I just knew it didn't feel good because it just felt very foreign. So that's why I was like probably
Yeah.
It's
more
all
scared.
forced.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
and
is.
it's like,
Yeah,
oh, you have to do this thing.
You
Oh,
have to
why?
sleep.
It's like you have to do this thing. It's like, no,
I don't want to.
It's like when like you
Single
know
tear.
when you know you need to like you won't be able to pee for a while and you just can't pee. And you're like, come on, man, I know
All
you're
of a
going to need to
sudden
go
you
in
need to
like
pee.
10 minutes,
Yeah.
but I can't.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Actually, speaking about it,
Do you need to pee?
might need to go.
Bathroom. Go pick up my kids.
Yeah.
drop my kids off at the pool.
That is not what we're talking about.
That is
but
not what
anyway.
we're talking about. We're referencing a podcast that you didn't listen to.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, you weren't part
That
of
is a thing. That is a thing.
I know that's a thing, but that's not what we're talking about.
Oh, well, it's additive.
Come on.
Not subtractive.
Get
Be
in our
supportive,
drift.
guys. Come on.
Yeah, listen to the podcast.
Don't tear each other down. Lift each other up.
Anyway, on topic 3, which topic 3 is some sad news, some sad tragic news. Both me and Taylor felt this in
Taylor was very
in our hearts.
very saddened by this. I think I saw a one tear, single tear.
The other tear, both the second
these
one
years
finally
later.
is held in for so long until now.
The brought back the memories.
Instead of the nurse looking down at you, it was Keanu
Oh
looking
my
down
god!
at you. Just
Imagine if
going,
Keanu
"It's
was there to
okay."
comfort me instead of Alex.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
He
But
would have
what
told me
can you
what to
do?
do. He would have made me feel
He
better.
wouldn't have laughed at me.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 is delayed. It was meant to be coming out in April this year, 2020, and it's been pushed back to September 17 now. And a lot of people are not happy.
I don't think so. I think surprisingly, a lot of people were very understanding, which is very
Yeah,
weird.
true.
There all were
There are
also
those-
people that
That
were
were not
There
happy.
were a few bad eggs, but I think like the general consensus was very much like, "Hey man, if it means the game gets better, I'm more than happy to wait." We've waited 7 years at this point. what's another 5 months, you know?
Yeah, fair.
And also, I think people were kind of relieved because there were so many games coming out in like April, March time. That it was just like, oh my god, we have time.
I can have a break.
I can actually play Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil 3.
Yeah. But yeah, it came at a time where a few other games were delayed too. Marvel's Avengers got delayed till September as well.
Do you think that's like a reactionary thing where Avengers is like, hey guys, we've delayed till September, we just need more time?
No, Avengers was first.
Yeah, they were first, but they were like, hey guys, we delayed till September, we need more time, you know, give us more breathing room. And they're like internally like, oh, you know, we're away from Cyberpunk, you know, we have a bit more breathing room. And then Cyberpunk's just like, we're in September as well. Like, no!
We're in September.
Our plan is ruined.
Oh no.
They come back to the microphone. Oh, actually, guys, we're delaying.
We meant October.
We're delaying to February next year.
Yeah, true. Yeah, October will be bad too, because I'm pretty sure October's always a busy month. October, November are always busy.
I think people have done them though, like when Red Dead or GTA got announced for like October. There were like a lot of prominent games that actually were out March.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, look.
You need more time? I was like, no,
just go March.
No reason.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I can't argue with that, to be honest. This game is going to be a monster. Some people I did read are very convinced that the reason they've moved to September is for the new consoles. That's what I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I don't think.
It seems odd, like, surely they could just do what, like, Red Dead did, where they just, like, was it Red Dead Redemption? One of them?
Oh, GTA 5 did it.
Yeah, that's right. Where they just brought it out again.
Yeah.
Like,
because they haven't said so far,
twice.
and they've only announced for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. PC, obviously, easy enough. It's meant to be, to go with the growing times of the hardware. But with the console cycle, I feel like they could probably do a GTA 5 thing where they release on the older generation and then like a year later, 8 months later, they go, hey, we're releasing on the next one as well.
Yeah, it's like Last of Us did that too.
Yeah, but the thing with that is that both platforms, including PlayStation for this generation, are supposed to be cross-platform. So technically, on release, you could just buy a PlayStation 4 copy of Cyberpunk, wait till the PS5 comes out, and then put in that disc, and it should work.
Yeah, true.
It should just be a patch that would allow it to upscale to 4K 60 or whatever it can run it at. So that does put into question how that would work as well. Yeah.
I don't know. I personally, when I read that, I was kind of like, yeah, look, that's a bit... I don't think that's the case, to be honest. I think it was definitely a case of... Probably The Witcher 3 got delayed 3 times before it came out. And it's, you know, still such a big game all these years later. Like... Evidently, they know what they're doing, I feel, especially with games like this.
Yeah, I am worried, though, because when the initial announcement was made, they cited reasons for things like playtesting and bug fixing and polish, which is all important things. It's that the last 6 months is usually just basically all those things. It's just you're constantly playtesting, bug fixing, and just trying to get it ready for launch as much as possible. The concern that I saw online, and was actually stated by them officially in a separate board of directors meeting that was noted online, was that this would give them more time to not crunch and go into overtime work to meet that April deadline.
Yeah.
Apparently that's not the case. They're still going to be working overtime and crunching all the way up to September.
Did you see my main man David Gator's tweets about this?
No.
Because I just brought them up out of curiosity.
Yeah.
For those who don't know who David Gator is, he was one of the guys who did stuff with Dragon Age.
Lead writer?
Yeah, pretty much. Wrote a bunch of like the most beloved characters. My favorite character, Dorian. So like, he's a G. I love him. And he was talking about this over the weekend, and I was like reading through his thing, and basically his consensus is like he understands why people are being, you know, kind about this and being understanding, but at the same time, it's not necessarily so they have more time. It's literally going to be they're going to crunch all the way up to September.
And I was reading
it's going to be disgusting.
I was reading a GameIndustry.biz article about this, and people were referencing this as an actual thing in the industry when deadlines are pushed specifically for the purposes of continued crunch time, and it's called a death march, which is doubly bad because that is actually a difficulty level in The Witcher 3.
It's the hardest one.
Yeah.
Whether I think you just you die. If you die, you die.
Basically one hit kill. If you don't play smart.
Yeah.
But that's not good. Calling something a death march colloquially in the industry as
Yeah.
something that is a standard practice and
Yeah.
shouldn't be done.
One of the tweets that he did was, when I've seen long-term crunch happen, it's because schedules failed. Everything went sideways and now the date has to slip, which means someone has to go to someone's boss and explain why.
Yeah.
And then basically being like, this isn't really that effective,
Yeah.
you know, and that it's basically like, he's kind of saying you can't go to the boss and be like, we intend to proceed exactly as planned. You have to say, we'll work ourselves to the bone, so we use as little of that time as possible. Because if they extend the dev cycle for too long, it's going to cost like insanely more amounts of time. Like they realistically, they need about another year. That's what people are saying.
Wow.
But they're going to push themselves so hard to get it out by September. And it's just, it's, I don't know, it's crazy that this still happens so much in the games industry, that developers are still being taken, I don't know, like just, this is, I don't know, it's just such a weird thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, I, for one, don't excuse it. I think the practice of crunch is bad. Like, that's not a controversial statement.
Yeah.
I'm not brave for saying it. But I do also think with this kind of game that maybe there were just unforeseen timelines in terms of, like, because producing is, like, not an easy job, especially for a for a team of that scale, like 300, 600 employees all working on the same project. That's a lot to micromanage and try and, like, schedule out into a certain date. And for a new intellectual property like Cyberpunk and what they're trying to achieve and the scale they're trying to achieve it, no doubt things are going to slip. I do agree, though, that, like, if it meant that it was going to be an extra year rather than an extra 5 months to not force the devs to crunch, that it should be that case. Because extending the period just to crunch even more after having crunched probably already for the past,
to
even
try
over
and get
Christmas.
ready for April.
Yeah,
you know?
because that's the whole thing with Death March, is just like, it starts off as crunch, like the deadline gets pushed once, and it's like, we have to go to February.
Yeah.
And you're crunching till February, and then January comes around,
And you're like,
we have to
nope.
crunch till May, and it's like, the deadline keeps getting pushed, but the work doesn't lessen.
Yeah.
It stays consistently high, and you're constantly stressed and constantly exhausted, and there's no end in sight. And that's what basically the Death March is, and that's why I think hearing what I'm hearing is that, yes, we're not, like, the company culture at CD Projekt is one that's been, I guess, under the microscope, because I think there's been a lot of accusations that it's not fantastic. It's very similar to Rockstar and how they handle the crunch.
It sounds like every game development studio is a bit
Pretty much every
terrible.
game stuff. But with CD Projekt in particular, they've responded by saying that, you know, we try not to have a culture of crunch. We don't force it. We don't force anyone to work overtime or crunch. We try as best as possible to make our schedules consistent, that we don't end up in a situation where crunch isn't necessary. But the key thing they say is that we don't say that you can't.
Yeah.
So people choose to, and people will.
Exactly.
And then, of course, the bystander effect, once you have enough people
Doing
staying
it.
home,
You kind of feel
staying
you
back
have
an
to.
extra hour or two,
You
then
feel
the social pressure
you
to stay
have to.
behind
Yeah.
also
Exactly.
increases. So even though it's not encouraged or forced as they've put it, it's not necessarily, like, denounced or straight up outlawed as, like, no, we do not accommodate this kind of behavior. They allow it to happen if people choose to have it be done. Which I think there is a level of responsibility where that should be educated and actually talked about and say this shouldn't be the case. And not just be like, well, if you're passionate enough and you dedicated enough, then stay back.
Yeah.
That causes problems.
Yeah. Have you ever experienced any issues with game delays, Alex? Have you ever been
No.
furious at the game for not coming out when I wanted it now, kind of thing?
Nah, never really. I've always been, like, to the idea that it doesn't matter when it comes out, really. You're going to play it and enjoy it at whatever time it comes out. And if it's the case that the deadline has to be pushed back because there's things to be fixed, bugs to be fixed, sort of thing, then that's better for the game.
Yeah.
Because you don't want things like Fallout 76 happening again.
Yeah, or like No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
That whole thing.
So, like, to me, it's better to push it back, but also, like, taking into effect to Taylor's point of view, like, you don't want to have your developers in crunch time always. I feel like there needs to be more of a structure shift where how games are developed. It sounds like it's like a scope thing, like they have this game that they want to develop, but then it just blows out.
Yeah.
And then they want to add more. They want to make it better. They want to do all these things. And then suddenly their schedule has gone way out.
Yeah.
And I think it happens a lot more with games than anything else, probably.
Yeah, I'd say so
Feature
too.
creep is a big problem.
Yeah. So whether it's the companies or just the way that games are developed, I feel like it's probably better to be brought back. And I don't know how that is governed or how that should be governed. But really, as a consumer, we should be just watching how we, talk about or how we consume the games itself. Like, we don't want to be going ham for this one game and thinking, okay, that game was awesome for, 2 weeks. And then we like say, oh, the developers spent, 7 years developing this awesome game.
Thing.
And I spent like,
You spent basically a week consuming it.
And then
tossing it.
Yeah.
Trading it into EB games.
Exactly. So we need to be careful as consumers as well. Not to be pushing for new content so hard. And that might be to do with like how our society consumes information right now, right? Like we're constantly on social media and stuff like that. That's a whole nother ball game, but like that has an aspect of it.
I think hype
games.
media is a huge thing with these games. Like they feel the need to get people out, get it out there, get people, we're so excited. Problem is, they started hyping this game 7 years ago. So that's why people are now like, where is it? Because it's like, well...
I feel like they've done a good job though of like
I think so
maintaining,
too.
like the hype is real, quote unquote, but it's like they've maintained it. Like it's not run away with them the same way that No Man's Sky's hype.
True.
Like, once they announced that game, it was like, oh my god, this game is going to be this, and this, and then Sean Murray was like, yes, and he kind of like regretted saying that immediately after saying it. And he's like, yes, but no. But forgot the no part.
Actually, no.
I love that guy.
Like that's the main difference. Is just like there was a yes, but then there was no.
Yeah.
Whereas with Cyberpunk, it's like, here's the things, yes, and yes, but in progress. We'll keep you up to date, kind of thing. And people were like, cool, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
And like each time it's been shown at E3, it's always been like that level of transparency. Like, hey, this is what we're working on. This is not final code. This is not final gameplay. We are still tinkering stuff behind the scenes all the time.
Yeah.
So this is not really the final product it's going to be. I think they were so overly conscious of that because they had a little tiny controversy about that with The Witcher 3 when they first showed that off. The early promo trailers for that game, the graphics were a lot different, like in terms of the art style and the graphical fidelity to the actual way the game launched. And there's like comparison videos on YouTube where it actually shows them side by side, and there is very like drastic changes in terms of how the art looks and how the color palette looks. I don't think it affects the game that much. The game's still great, but there was a downgrade, if you want to call it that, is what the public sort of saw. So I think CD Projekt saw that and like we have to be much more transparent about how we're actually presenting this game to the public and manage those expectations. I think they've done that fairly well. Like, even though, like you said, this game is like of the generation, I think outside of like The Last of Us 2, I don't think there's any other game that has as much hype riding on it as Cyberpunk.
True.
Which is why delaying it probably the smart choice. But even so, I think there might be a segment of that audience that kind of expects more now, which is kind of scary.
Could come up bad, I suppose. I guess it just
the whole mentality, like, we gave you an extra 5 months, so we expected that. And it's like, no, that's not how it works.
You're not entitled to whatever you want. Like, but yeah. All right, well, single tier for Cyberpunk 2077. Yes. We will see you in September.
Hopefully not 2077.
Hopefully not in 2077. Yeah,
2020,
sure.
Let's keep
sure. Well, I mean, if the game comes out,
fine.
then you will, right?
What?
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 Huh?
Huh?
What?
Anyway, thank you guys
Be
so
amazing.
much
Isn't that
for being
isn't
part
that
of the podcast.
I'll be talking to Keanu.
Yes, yes.
I'll be
Yeah, so
talking
you
to-
will be in the.
I'll be talking to Keanu in the game, and he'll be sitting next to me on the couch.
Yeah.
As a cyborg.
Yeah.
Because he's still alive.
He's so...
No, I was
Wonderful.
saying you would be immersed in the game of 2077. So
Right.
you would.
But we're planning it in 2020.
Yes.
Right.
But you would be in 2077.
2077. Okay.
It was a reach. Sorry, I take it back.
Problem solved.
Solve it.
Yeah, problem solved.
Okay, cool.
That's how it said. Did you not?
No.
Gosh, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You listen to the podcast,
I
can't
don't
say the
know
word solved.
Can I go down?
Anyway, so thank you guys so much for being on this week. Before we have to wrap
you're
it
welcome.
up now, do you guys have any outros to suggest for today?
No, I still haven't thought of one.
You still haven't thought? I don't know how we should
Should
end
we
it.
be thinking of one?
I feel like we need something.
Taylor, what you got? Throw him under the bus.
Well, I'll shout out all our socials while you have a think.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Remember to follow us on Twitter. Check out our Facebook page. Check out our Instagram. We do lots of Instagrammings. We have a YouTube channel, which you might be watching this on right now. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the video. And remember to check out our Discord as well and join that so you can submit questions to us.
Thermaltake ANZ Community Discord.
That's the one. And yes, and also remember to follow us on our Twitch. What is
Hey.
our Twitch? I think it's twitch.tv/, is it just
Thermaltake
AU?
Yeah.
Thermaltake
ANZ.
ANZ, yes. Check us out on there because we're going to start, hopefully this year, live streaming the podcast.
Yes.
As
Amongst
well.
other things.
Amongst other things. We have a lot of cool things coming up for 2020, hopefully.
And
Cool
other
plans.
things.
Yes.
Lots of plans.
Yes, there's a little teaser. We've got some cool plans for 2020, and a lot of them will involve interactivity with you guys. So definitely
video
be part of that. Yeah, right.
Interactivity.
All right, and now time for Taylor's goodbye.
Do you remember when they used to call computer games interactive games?
No.
No,
Yeah. You have the Toy Story interactive video game?
Oh, yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
that.
maybe.
They stopped calling them that after that.
Is that
Cool
your
story,
outro?
man.
Yeah, goodbye.
Actually.
What a great outro. All right, well, I guess that's the outro then.
No.
No, okay, all right.
No, I don't want.
No,
No,
turn
it can
off
be.
the computer.
The Elgato. The
The
Delgato.
Elgato is disconnected.
The Delgato as
Delgato.
as
Still having issues with the Delgato.
as one Jack Black called it. The
You sounded a bit
Delgato.
like Jenna Marbles then when you were doing the outro.
With the outro.
Yeah.
What was my outro?
With the socials and stuff. Social media.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, cool.
Jenna
Channeling
Marbles.
my inner Jenna
Do you know-
Marbles.
I know
That
Jenna
is-
Marbles is. OG YouTuber.
I don't think you can
OG
be on the
YouTuber.
internet and not know Jenna Marbles,
Yeah.
can you?
She's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Cool. Well,
Oh, I mean, we don't have to put this in. I was just.
no, that's it's still
It's-
recording.
Oh,
When someone
gosh.
says that, it's staying in.
It has to stay in now. Thank you so much for sticking around all the way to the end. We do hope you enjoyed this episode of Thermal Talk. If you want to join in the discussion or maybe even submit a topic for us to talk about in future, make sure to jump over to our Discord. We also do weekly giveaways there as well. Remember also that these video podcasts are available audio a week earlier. So jump over to our Spotify, SoundCloud, or Apple Podcasts to listen earlier. And we'll catch you on the next one.